For decades, search and rescue records across multiple countries have documented a troubling reality. Each year, individuals disappear within protected forests and wilderness areas, and a small but significant number are never recovered. These cases do not typically involve intentional disappearance or criminal evasion. Rather, they concern ordinary people, hikers, campers, hunters, and children who enter well-regulated public lands and fail to return. Across several forests, internal reports and investigative journalism have identified recurring patterns that authorities acknowledge quietly but cannot fully explain. The central question raised by these cases remains unresolved. Why do certain forests repeatedly become the final known locations of people who are never found? One of the most extensively documented examples is found in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, a vast and densely wooded region spanning North Carolina and Tennessee. Despite being among the most visited national parks in the world, it has long recorded one of the highest numbers of missing person cases within the National Park Service system. The terrain is exceptionally complex, visibility is often severely limited, and weather conditions can shift rapidly. While the majority of lost visitors are eventually located, a small number of disappearances remain unresolved despite comprehensive and sustained search efforts. In June 1969, 6-year-old Dennis Martin disappeared while visiting the park with his family near the Spence Field area. According to official accounts, Dennis had been playing with other children and briefly moved out of sight behind nearby vegetation. Within moments, he could no longer be seen. The search operation that followed was unprecedented for the park at that time, involving hundreds of volunteers, park rangers, military personnel, tracking dogs, and aerial reconnaissance. Weather conditions deteriorated significantly during the search, complicating efforts. K-9 units reportedly lost Dennis's scent abruptly along a ridgeline, an outcome that puzzled investigators. No physical evidence conclusively linked to the child was ever recovered, and the case remains officially unsolved. Comparable patterns have been identified in other protected wilderness areas. Yosemite National Park in California, renowned for its granite formations and expansive backcountry, has also recorded unexplained disappearances. In July 1981, 14-year-old Stacy Ayers vanished during a group hike near the Sunrise High Sierra Camp. She had been walking slightly ahead of the group on a familiar trail when she disappeared without witnesses. An extensive search operation followed, involving park rangers, volunteers, and aerial support. A camera believed to possibly belong to her was later discovered, but no definitive physical trace of Stacy herself was ever confirmed. Her disappearance remains an open case. When investigators later examined multiple incidents across different forests, several inconsistencies emerged. In some cases, tracking dogs lost scent suddenly rather than gradually. In others, personal belongings were discovered in areas that had already been searched. When remains were eventually located in certain cases, they were sometimes found far from the last known location, in terrain considered extremely difficult to access even for trained search and rescue professionals. These anomalies were documented in official records, but often remain unresolved due to the lack of supporting evidence. Search and rescue professionals have described the significant challenges these cases present. Established models of wilderness fatalities typically predict certain outcomes, such as downhill movement, proximity to water sources, or the recovery remains within a defined search radius. In a number of these disappearances, those expectations were not met. Publicly, officials emphasize the inherent unpredictability of wilderness environments and avoid speculation. Privately, some have acknowledged that a small subset of cases does not conform to conventional explanations. Over time, investigators began to observe geographic patterns. Specific areas within parks, particular ridges, drainages, and trail intersections appeared repeatedly in missing person reports. These clusters could not be fully accounted for by visitor volume alone. Although no official conclusions were drawn, these observations led to procedural adjustments, including faster response times, enhanced visitor warnings, and a stronger emphasis on maintaining group cohesion. Today, many of these cases remain unresolved. Families continue to seek answers, while investigators periodically review case files with limited expectation of resolution. Authorities do not attribute intent or agency to the forests themselves. Instead, they acknowledge a fundamental limitation. Wilderness environments do not reliably preserve evidence, and time often erases what little remains. What persists is the absence of explanation. These forests remain open, monitored, and heavily visited, yet they carry histories marked by unanswered questions. People enter with clear intentions and documented plans and never return, leaving behind records, memories, and silence. In some locations, the search concludes not with answers, but with the recognition that the land has yielded all it ever will.